This meeting is being recorded.
All right. Good morning and now good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the December issue and the last issue seminar of the year for us for our virtual home buying series. And my name is Dan Sugg, and I'm with Michigan First Credit Union, and I am responsible for Michigan First Mortgage. My office is here at Evergreen, and we're here obviously to help you realize your homeownership dream. So today we're covering a really cool topic, which we do annually, which is rent versus buy. So if we could just remind everyone that we are recording today's call, and that if you would please stay on mute and keep your videos off other than those that are presenting, it will help with the performance of today's call. So our agenda today is I will introduce the speakers here in a second. We'll cover the bulk of our call will be about whether it's better to rent or versus buy. And, certainly we're going to lean toward buying as we believe that is the investment, but there are times you probably should rent. And then we'll cover our tips and tricks at the end and have hopefully some time for closing remarks and maybe even have some time for question and answer. But please don't hesitate putting your questions in the chat box as we go along. Zareen is on the line and we'll be managing that and interjecting if possible. So with that, let's jump into our introductions. Crystal is a veteran on our web series here and has done this a number of times with us. Crystal, if you would please tell us a little bit about yourself and what you bring to our members in regards to their mortgage needs.
Well, like Dan said, I'd like to call myself a veteran. I have been in the mortgage business for a little bit over 5 years, and I specialize in helping our first-time home buyers. I love to help them realize the potential of buying a first home, just bringing that joy to them, letting them know that it is a goal, whether they're 19 or 60. So it definitely brings me joy to help our first-time home buyers.
Yeah, and I will echo that second part. We've featured several grandmothers that became first-time home buyers, and that is especially rewarding when we can start to change the narrative for some folks. So thank you, Crystal, for joining us today. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Renee Brown with eXp Realty. Renee has also been on our call a number of times, so we appreciate your expertise. And Renee, in the world of real estate, what do you bring to our members and how can you help them?
Well, I bring a couple things. Hi, everybody. I bring a couple of things to the members. I work closely with Michigan First Credit Union, done lots and lots of loans through Michigan First. I'll just say I bring over 13 years of experience. Come April, I have 14 years. I've been a broker for 1 year. I have a team, so it's not just me taking people around looking at houses. I may not be available today, but my team and I collaborate. We'll share with one other person, and we just kind of work together to help people find their home, their dream home. I love, or their second home, or their third home, or even commercial and or investment property. So I just love helping people find what they're looking for.
Yeah, and having gone through this process a couple times while being involved in this career, I can advocate on the behalf of a professional realtor like Renee and making sure that you have somebody on your side to help champion the process, because there are a number of pitfalls, and certainly having somebody like Renee and Crystal on your side certainly helps through that process. So I would love to jump right into it, and I'm going to start with Renee. So tell me a little bit. I feel a little disconnected from kind of what's going on in the real estate market today. Can you give me a little landscape of what's going on out there?
So typically winter is slower months. However, we're not that slow on our team. We're working, we're closing deals. Um, but with the mortgage rates taking a slight dip, people are still in the game, if you will. They're still out looking, and I think that it's still a strong market. I really do.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad
Do you
market.
see values increasing, staying the same? How's the offer scenarios going in that?
So if you come with a strong offer. And I suggest to people, if you're pre-approved for 200,000, I suggest you don't look at $200,000 houses unless this is your house you have to have. I suggest people look slightly under budget in case you need to go over that, say 180 or whatever. Or I also suggest that there are a lot of homes that have been on the market for a while. If you and Michigan First now offers a 203K loan, which I guess you guys can speak to that. You might get the grandma house that has the pink bathroom, and you might want to take the extra, say you got 200, but you only go 180 for the house or 175. You can make it your dream home. So there's options out there.
Yeah, it's certainly, you mentioned rates, and I'm going to slide right to Crystal now to talk a little bit about rates, but we've seen some volatility in the market. So, understand that you date the rate and you marry the house. So the rate definitely can change after you buy. But so let's just jump into it, Crystal. What are rates looking like today, and where's the market at?
Well, rates, when I look to lock a loan today, rates have taken a little bit of a dip. So I was super excited because when I was looking last week, they were in the upper to mid sevens, and now they're about the sixes. So I am really happy just to be offering that.
Yeah, and there's a lot that goes into the rate. I always tell our LOs when a member calls and asks what's the rate, that's a loaded question. Certainly there is a number of programs that we offer, and good for home first, especially first time home buyers today, somebody that's currently renting and thinking about buying. There is a number of incentives based on loan amount, based on credit score, based on previous home ownership status that can get those rates really closer to 6 versus in the 7s if you're an experienced buyer. So a lot of push toward first-time home buyers. So, all right, well, we heard about rates. Renee, I'm going to ask you the $20 million question. What's the pros and cons rent versus buying?
So there are a couple of pros and cons. So I hear people say, well, I would buy, but I don't know if I want to stay in Michigan. So definitely, if you're moving in the next 12 months, you probably shouldn't buy a house. That would be the pro for renting. However, if you're unsure or you never plan on moving, or maybe in the next 10 years, you should buy a home. There's equity in getting a home. And I'll let you guys speak to the word equity in case there's somebody on here that doesn't know what that means. Yeah. There's equity in buying a home. Renting, you're under the landlord's rules, whether it's an apartment or a house. And I typically hear people say, hey, my credit score is bad. Well, I think you should fix that, because a lot of times landlords don't want people with poor credit either. So if you work with a financial institution, they'll help you fix your credit. That's another pro of buying a house. Your credit will increase, you'll gain equity, and you'll have your own rules. A lot of times landlords, even in houses, don't want pets, or you'll pay a fee for your pet. If you have your own house, you can have a zoo, a farm. You can have whatever you want.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You can tear down a kitchen, you can paint, there's so much more freedom with it.
Certainly.
Yeah,
and you just mentioned something that I think struck a chord around credit score, which we'll get to more in a minute. But what other reasons would you think? Well, there's a saying, I always like to bring this up on these calls. It's not even saying, it's actually a theory that a person that rents and a person that buys, within 5 years' time, the person that buys has a net worth 40 times that of the person that rents, because of not only the equity you build in the home, as you spoke to, but really just the mechanics of how your loan works. You're paying down your loan as you move through that in time, and actually paying yourself back is kind of cool.
Yes.
Absolutely. And then I was going to say, even if you play it right, you can refinance, do a cash out, then you can pay your credit card bills down or pay other bills down, which will also raise your credit score, which puts you in a better financial situation.
Yeah. And so from an LO perspective, certainly what would be your pros and cons versus renting and buying? Obviously, Crystal, you're in the business of making available funds so people can buy. But what would you think are some of the pros and cons of buying versus renting?
Well, I guess the millennial in me is just to have your own. Nobody can tell you to get out. This is your home. Equity is cash in your pocket. And to think about it, rent has gone up, what, 5.57%? I think in 2024 alone, your payment, your mortgage payment is not going to go up. I mean, it may go up because of property taxes, but it's not going to shoot up that much. And it's nothing like absolutely having your own.
Yeah, and you can't deduct rent off your taxes, right? The interest
Correct.
you pay on a mortgage still is tax deductible today. So certainly giving you that tax credit. Always tell people to consult your tax advisor given your certain situation, but certainly that interest that you pay is still a deduction allowed by the IRS in that regard. And the taxes on that you just mentioned. So all right. So if I'm coming to you, Renee, what are the signs I should be looking for that I should be ready to buy? What is it that really is happening that is saying, hey, you need to buy a house? Like, what are you doing?
Well, here's what I would tell you. I would say, Dan, your lease is up in March. You should start looking for a house now because the process it could take up to 90 days. I've had loans to close in 30 days or less. As a matter of fact, last year, this time, Izarina and I closed a house on December 28th. It was a rush deal, and the person had to move because their lease was up January 1st. So I think that with the new year coming, I'm already in 2025 in my mind. I'm writing 2025. I'm already there. I already have my calendar written for 2025. So if you're thinking that your lease is up, or I'm working with a client, her mom's selling her house that she lives in, that the client lives in. And so she has to move. I mean, this was her family home, and now the mom's selling it. She's an adult, but she has to move. So now is the time to look.
Yeah, certainly. And today's the 19th. So if we close something tomorrow, I'm sorry, take an application for something tomorrow, we couldn't legally get it closed because of the disclosure laws until the 2nd of January. So I guess you're right. We are now officially into 2025, but we are still closing many loans here at the end of the month in 2024. So,
Yes.
well, tell me from an LO perspective, Crystal, how do I know if I should buy or rent? Like when somebody comes to you for a pre-approval, what's your advice on, are you ready to buy or not?
Well, everyone is different. So I definitely sit down and talk to them. What is your next step? Are you planning to stay in Michigan for the next few years? And talk to them about where you are. Where's your credit score? What are you looking to bring? What are you looking for? Renting is good, but like I can't say it enough. Having your own is awesome. Nobody can tell you to get out. It is yours.
Yeah. Well, and I think if you think, and we'll get into the cost of homeownership in a minute, but there is a responsibility factor to buying a home. Certainly you now have upkeep. You have to cut the lawn. Things that, guys like me that are old say, oh, we really enjoy cutting lawn, but ultimately it is work. You got to understand that is part of the upkeep, and every ounce of energy and time and money, sweat equity that you put into your home is to your benefit and grow that investment all the time. If I look at rent today, a typical 2-bedroom in a suburban area really runs over $2,000 today, maybe even $2,300 or $2,400. In an annual expense, you're looking at $30,000 in rent that you're paying that you could be paying back to yourself, even if you're going to leave Michigan in 14 or 15 months. While there are some expenses with buying, which we'll go through in a minute, but there is a cost effectiveness at some point, even if you sell it for the same amount that you bought it for, that may trade. And you really should look at that opportunity given where the inventory is. So Renee, what are the costs of buying a home? It can be expensive sometimes, but from your perspective, what does that look like?
So there are a lot of programs for first-time home buyers. Let me stop and say that. So it can be a reduced rate. However, out of pocket first thing would be an inspection. I always, in almost 14 years of real estate, I always tell my buyers, you need a home inspection. Almost 14 years, I've had 3 or 4 people not do inspections. One, the guy was buying his home. He has his own construction company. He did his own, but he did his own inspection. I had another client, he's a fire inspector. He buys properties, so he does his own inspections. But when he bought his own house, he did an inspection. So an inspection is first. Once you put the offer in, you want to have a home inspection, and they can run anywhere from $350 to $700, depending on what you want done. That's an out-of-pocket expense that you have to come up with once you put the offer in. And then there's the earnest money deposit. It's just like a good faith deposit. It says, hey, I'm invested in this house. And then there's the appraisal that you guys will speak to.
Yeah.
So those are
the EMD that goes toward the transaction. It's not really an expense. It's just kind of a deposit. It is credited, right?
right. But I don't want people to be shocked when they say, why do I have to pay $2,500? What's this $1,000 about?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, certainly. So, in an inspection, obviously you don't get that money back, but you get a report to keep and learn about that house, and certainly maybe even help familiarize yourself with that house too in that process, right?
Absolutely. I've seen 5-page reports. I've seen 85-page reports. Typically, if it's an 85-page report, you don't want the house.
Too many pictures.
But I tell my buyers, I said, your inspector is working for you. They'll tell you about a missing screw in a wall plate. Yeah, you can put the screw in. That's nothing. But you can negotiate a lot of things. Sellers often will fix a lot of things. So those are things that you want to know.
Yeah. And Crystal, cost of doing a mortgage from a lending perspective. Renee talked briefly about the appraisal. Maybe you can pick up from there and tell us what some of those other expenses might be.
Yes, so the appraisal is the other out-of-pocket cost. It's $575. So the difference between an inspection and an appraisal, the inspection is really the meat and potatoes of the home. You want to know, hey, is the foundation good? Is the roof good? The appraisal tells you how much the home is worth and comparable values in the area. So you can say, hey, this is a good area. It's worth a lot of money. It just pretty much tells you the value versus the meat and potatoes. Okay, so this is what I'm getting. It's a good roof. It's also in a good neighborhood. The schools are good over here, things of that nature.
Yeah. What other expenses also with a transaction? I know some of that gets financed in or you bring them to closing, but what are some of the other basic expenses you have to cover?
Well, just the cost of doing business. That's one of the things that Michigan First Credit Union has the lowest cost to do business. Our $12.95, our lender cost. Also, why am I drawing a blank? I'm sorry.
Lender cost includes all of the underwriting and the appraisal or the processing of that application that goes through the system. And those generally run anywhere from, ours is in the 1,200 range, but they can go up to $2,200. I've seen at some lenders, and we certainly are very economical because of our status as a credit union. Title work, you have some title insurance, I believe, in the transaction. So make sure there's no outstanding liens against the property, and then you pay somebody to actually close the loan. But all of that will be detailed for on your lending estimate that Crystal will give you when you meet with her.
The loan estimate with title work, insurance, property taxes that have to be paid a year in advance, homeowners insurance that have to be paid a year in advance. A lot of people don't know about that. That's one of the big ones. So property taxes, property taxes and homeowners insurance are the big bulk of how much your monthly mortgage payment is going to be. So definitely when you're looking in those markets, looking in those areas, that's something to be mindful of.
Yeah. And let's just stay with Crystal for 1 second. Let's talk about thinking about all those costs. When you sit down to do a pre-approval, do you detail all that out for them and where, like, how much money they're going to need? And depending on the program, how does that all work when you do a pre-approval?
Yes, so I definitely sit down. I ask them, where is it that you want to look? Give me 3 cities that you want to look in. And we're looking on Zillow, and I tell them, hey, this is how much the property taxes are a month. So we're going to talk about how much your monthly mortgage payment is going to be. We're going to get some quotes. I tell them, call Michigan First Insurance, see how much homeowners insurance is, so that we can get, I don't want anybody to be bamboozled by that monthly mortgage payment. You need to know, because that's where that's your comfort zone. You need to know exactly how much you're going to pay every single month, because it's not going to change. So you definitely want to make sure that's what you're comfortable with. Like you say, you marry the house, you date the rate, but that monthly mortgage payment is definitely something you never want to be house poor. You want to be able to keep your grass cut, go on vacation, get a new car. What if your furnace dies, or things happen. So you definitely want to make sure.
Yeah, I think I'm of the boomer generation. I don't know about vacation when you're young. You should be working all the time, working at, no, I'm joking.
No, sir.
I understand. So certainly, all right, back to Renee. I know we talked about this briefly, but do you see home values still rising with the scenario we have today? Is it a good time to buy? Like where are we at today in the market?
So right now, this month through March, I think it's an excellent time to buy. You don't have as many people shopping right now
I'm gonna buy.
because
Yeah.
people are, Christmas is coming, then the New Year's. Shop now. The weather's not horrible, but I mean, I'm a realtor. I have the earmuffs and a hat and gloves, and we can take you out now. It's a really good time to buy because you don't have as many people in the market. Come March, the end of March, then we're going to I worked through the bidding war process, and there's still a few. If it's a really nice house at an affordable price or in your price range, there will be multiple offers. But if you have a good realtor, they know how to write that offer. If they have a relationship with the other realtor, I've been in the market or the industry long enough. I know a lot of realtors. They love working with my team. I have people on my team that have many years. My associate broker that I'm partnered with, he has double my years, and he's younger than me. So if we'll call each other. Well, hey, do you know so and so? And some agents will just say, we can't make them take the offer, but if you have a really good working relationship, and I include my lender in my emails, I said, hey, Crystal, we got an offer for 123 Main Street, and I know the realtor, Crystal. I'll introduce Crystal in the email and say, hey, my lender's here. My lender's communicates. Communication is the key in getting accepted offers. But right now, to answer your question, Dan, it's a very good time to look. Anytime in the winter, because people do other stuff. It's a really good time.
Yeah. And Crystal, from a pre-approval perspective, there's no bad time to get pre-approved. It doesn't cost anything. It's never too soon to start in that process, right?
Absolutely not. And I was just going to piggyback on what Renee says, especially when they're putting offers in. I always talk to listing agents. Yes, tell them to call me on a Saturday and Sunday, especially on the weekends, because that's when people are going out, putting offers in. Yes, I'm available. I know I try to talk to my pre-approvals, especially on Friday afternoon. Hey, here's an updated pre-approval. Are you going out house hunting this weekend? Okay. Give them my cell phone number. I'll definitely boost you up and tell them how much of a great person you are to purchase this home.
Yeah.
And it's never a bad time for a pre-approval.
Yeah, even if you're lacking maybe what you think is the required funds, it starts with really getting the story. While it might not be yes today, it's a no, not yet, but it gives you that prescription on how to get ready, maybe by March or June, or really move along. So not a bad time, certainly, to get with Crystal, get your plan in place, call Renee and talk about, hey, this is where I'm at, and let's start that relationship, certainly. So all right, we just got a couple minutes left, so maybe one from each. So for Crystal, talk to me about grants. Are there any grants out there to help me with the down payment piece, which sometimes is the obstacle, is getting that money to put down? And are there any first-time homebuyer programs that we should be looking at?
Okay, so grants, I wrote that down. Yes, Wayne County has a grant. Oakland County has a grant. Mishta has 10,000 that they give back. It is a loan. You do have to pay it back. Once you refinance, sell your home, or the mortgage is paid off. If you have good credit, you can even qualify for a lower interest rate, 5.375. That is definitely unheard of in this market.
Yeah, the rate of gain, yeah.
National Faith Home Buyers is a program. They know of all of the first time home buyer programs. They email you all the time to let you know what's available, what's not available, and when more monies will be available. The city of Detroit, knock on wood, they said that their money will be replenished next year. So I am hoping for that, because that definitely was a beautiful program. 25,000 to purchase a home for first time home buyers. Yes, that was awesome.
Yeah. FHL, we have an association with FHLB too, that coming in the springtime will bring back their NIP, not NIP. There's a program that they have, a home buyers incentive program that they have, HOP program, home ownership program, that is another
For the
25. And all of, in some of these scenarios, if
Okay.
it all the stars align, you can align them all. And we had a couple people get up to $50,000 to buy a house. So definitely get in the mix and start talking about that. So there is a question here real quick. It says, what is equity? I know it was brought up earlier. Equity is the difference between what your house is worth and what you owe. And that is your money that you build over time as you make payments. You're building equity in your home. If the value goes up and your loan goes down, you gain that equity, and that's your money while it's locked in your house. When you do sell someday, that is your equity. And is there a certain yearly amount that someone should make in order to qualify for a home purchase? I will tell you that we have programs all the way down to 80% of the area median income, which is roughly about $60,000, but it really depends on the size of house that you're buying. So it starts by calling somebody like Crystal. We have 41 loan officers now at the credit union, and making sure that they're available and get your story so we can do that. So before we leave, we will flash up all the contact information that's being asked for in the chat, but I want to leave an opportunity for both Renee and Crystal to tell us the three things we should be most taken away from this call. So I'm going to start with Crystal, and then we'll finish with Renee. So Crystal, what are the three things our members should know?
That they need to get that pre-approval. Even if they feel like they're not ready, call me right now so that you can get ready. We can work freecreditreport.com. Make sure your credit card utilization is good. It's okay. If you're not ready right now, if it's a no, it's not a no. It's never a no. It's just a not right now. Invest in yourself. You paying rent is you paying off somebody else's mortgage. It's much better to pay off your own. Get that equity, get something that you're proud of.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree with that more. And Renee, from a realtor perspective, what are the three things our members should know?
They should know that get a pre-approval. Get a pre-approval. I will take you to see one house, and most realtors won't without that pre-approval. I will take you to see one house, and I call that whetting your appetite. But I have a whole wish list that I send people, because people just say, I want a good house in a good neighborhood. I don't know what that means, because I want to live in Bloomfield or Birmingham, but I may not be able to afford that. So I need to know, do you want east side or west side? We're all from Michigan. Everybody knows. Do you want Warren or do you want Redford? I mean, I call it, it's funny, I call it Warren the east side of Redford, the same, they're the same matching. So you got to know what you want in a house. Do you want 3 bedrooms? Do you want a basement? You got to know, you got to communicate that. Don't just say, whether you work with my team or anybody else, don't just say, I want a good house in a good neighborhood. What does that mean? Know what you want. Do you need a garage? Does a garage matter? Those are basic things that you should know. And you should look within your budget. And here's a top secret for any real estate agent. Unless they're paying for leads on Zillow, we don't like Zillow. Call a professional.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Certainly, I think I started this by saying that if I'm going through the process today, being in the business for over almost 30 years, I'm using a realtor and I'm using a loan officer, even though I'm part of the business, because you want somebody that's working for you and certainly representing you through that. Look at that. We ran out of time, but here is our contact information that everybody was asking for. So if you want more information about this web series, email info@michiganfirstmortgage.com. If you want to apply for a loan or get started in the process, you can go to michiganfirst.com/mortgage. And then, or if calling an 800 numbers either, we're there 24 hours a day to take your information. And of course, Crystal's information directly is there. She is a great representative of our team here. And then for Renee, her phone number and her email address, befavorable@gmail.com. Is there for you. We do want to know that Michigan First Insurance Agency is here and we have you covered. I know Crystal mentioned that earlier. Insurance costs continue to rise. In fact, the number one threat of home ownership today is insurance, the rising cost of insurance. So shop those 40 insurance carriers through Michigan First Insurance and make sure you're getting the best deal. And you can contact them at that information there. And then lastly, thank you. Thank you for coming today and happy holidays to all of you. And hopefully we'll get through this without any white stuff on the ground unless you're looking for it. So have a good day and take care. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for having me as well.
Yeah.
Crystal, you made it.
I did.
All right. Well, thank